Well, in terms of photography, 2020 isn't what I had planned. Hi everyone, and welcome back to my channel. Nice to see you all. What an utter bizarre year we've had. And I don't need to tell any of you what sort of year we've had. It's been utterly bonkers. And in terms of photography, I feel like I haven't probably hit half the locations I would have done usually. So that said, I've been going through some images. I've been looking for, do we call it top 10? I'm calling it, I've picked out 10 images anyway that I really like. They're not necessarily my best images, but they're just images that kind of sit well with me, or they've got a little bit of a story behind them. I don't know, or whatever it is, I've picked them out, no particular order, and I just thought I'd run through them with you. Really appreciate you following me. If you're a subscriber, thank you very much. I really appreciate it. If you haven't already, get on board, because we'll talk about photography and all sorts of different things, and we'll be doing, hopefully, I don't know what the next year is going to bring, but hopefully we'll be talking lots more about photography in the future. Anyway, let's get into this. 10 images I've picked out for 2020. I thought it would be difficult, but actually I quite like these images. They've got a story behind them, and they've got some meaning for me, and I do like them. So anyway, the first one was actually taken. It was the first lockdown, when we were allowed actually to go out into local areas and exercise. And me and my family went to a local woods. It's not far from us, called Judy Woods. Now in this woods there's a beck that runs through it, and I know that there's been a lot of conservation done on the beck recently to clean it up and make sure that wildlife is fit for wildlife, and they've done a great job. But it's a beautiful little body of water running through these woods, and it's really aesthetically pleasing in certain places, certainly for photography. But when I went down this particular day, I didn't have any kit on me at all, apart from just my camera. I took a camera and a lens. I just chucked it in a bag when we left the house. So I had this one camera and lens. And to stay away from people, what me, my wife and my little girl had done was sort of come off the pathways, and we had our wellies on, so we were kind of wading through this water, which was a lot of fun as well. And I came to this scene and I thought, well, I've got to photograph this. And it was just it was where the beck had risen slightly, and there was some little falls of water. And I thought, why didn't I bring my tripod? If you're a landscape photographer, how many times have you said that to yourself when you've been out and found something you want to photograph? You do not have your tripod with you. This is one of those occasions for me. It was like, why do I not have my kit with me? But undeterred, I set to photographing this scene. Now, it's not the most remarkable photo in the world, but I like it because of the reasons I've just stated. I didn't have any kit. I thought, I'm going to get this shot anyway. So basically crouched into the water, and there's some imagery here of me crouching in the water, trying to set this shot up. And I chose some settings, and I couldn't see the viewfinder. I really didn't know what I was shooting at, so it was all chance basically. Took a few shots, checked the back of the camera, kind of sort of happy with what I've got, and then I left. And when I came to edit these images on after taking them off the camera, I was really pleased with this. Now it's not the most remarkable image, it's not the best composition in the world, but I quite like it. I don't know, it has some atmosphere, and it's not a rubbish photo by any sense at all. But I kind of like, sometimes it's about the journey with photography. It's about the things you go through, or the ideas you have, or the fact that you've taken an image at all. This is one of these occasions where I could very easily just go, no, this isn't happening. I haven't got my kit. Let's just move on. And I didn't. I persevered. Sat myself in the water. The actual water was lapping at the bottom of my camera when I was taking this image. So not ideal, but great fun. This is the thing, it was all fun. It was great fun to get this shot at all, and I'm quite pleased with it. Not bad. So that's my number one. And the settings for this was a 17-40 wide angle, and it was set at 17mm. It was 0.6 seconds, and the f-stop was f10, and the ISO settings were ISO 100. So yeah, That was this shot. Okay, shot number 2. Now, shot number 2 is at a place called Hardraw Force, which is in the Yorkshire Dales. Now, I've visited this place plenty of times. Now, you may know this from the film The Prince of Thieves with Kevin Costner, the Robin Hood film, where he was caught bathing in this body of water by the Lady Marian. If you've seen the film, you know what I'm talking about, and he's kind of famed for it, really. And I've been there a few times, but I was there with my kit on this occasion, so I'd set up. It was quite hard to get, for me anyway. I felt it was quite hard to get the composition I wanted to get, because there's only limited places where you could stand to set a composition up, and where I eventually ended up standing there was like a slab of rock that sloped down towards where the water was running, and as you can see from some of this footage, it's just a treacherous bit of water. There's plenty of water coming over that fall. There wasn't any fantastic places to stand, but I found a couple of places and I took some shots, and I'm really pleased with this image that I ended up with. They've got 1 or 2 more as well. I did some portraits as well as landscapes, but I like it. It's an incredible place. I quite like this composition. It kind of worked for me, and I'm glad I took the time to set up in. I suppose it was bizarre in a sense. There's plenty of people milling around because it's a spot that people visit. So it's choosing your time when to take the photo, and then letting people come who've paid to come and visit it kind of have their time there. So I just didn't want to sort of monopolise the time there and not let anybody else enjoy it. You know what I mean? Anyway, spent some time there, got this shot, and I really like it. Now, the Force itself claims to be the highest unbroken waterfall in England. I think that's correct. The highest waterfall above ground. Apparently there are some in caves below the ground that are bigger or larger, but this is quite an impressive place and an impressive fall nonetheless, and I do like this image. So that's shot number 2. The lens I used was a 17-40 at 17mm, and it was 1 second at f22 ISO 50 manual on a tripod. There you go. That's shot number 2. Shot number 3. Okay, shot number 3. This is a place called Point of Ayr Lighthouse on the north coast of Wales. It's also called Tallacher Lighthouse because it's local to a town called Tallacher, apparently. It's a grade 2 listed building. I don't think it's used as a lighthouse anymore. I'm pretty sure it isn't. But yeah, it's a very photographed place. It's a nice beauty spot. And I'd gone there in the morning at daybreak, first light, to get some shots of it, and I got some beautiful shots of it. Sent the drone up and took some aerial shots as well, and came away with here's 1 or 2 shots that I took on that morning, and spent some time there, and then I went and did something else for the day, and then eventually came back for a walk. And I wasn't going to, but I'm really pleased I did in that same evening. And it was quite light when I got there. There's some footage here of us just walking up to it. I was just sending the drone along the beach to get some shots, and it was quite empty. There weren't many people around, and as the sun dipped in the sky, we had this beautiful light. And there's some warnings on the beach because apparently it can get really muddy, and there was this beautiful pool of water left just beyond the lighthouse. I almost missed it. I was busy looking for other compositions, but this just presented itself to me, and as soon as I saw it, I thought, crap, I've got to get that shot. So I waded out into this water, set the tripod up, started sinking into the sand because it's like that round there, and got this shot. Absolutely adore this shot. Love the fact that I went back, and again I wasn't going to, so it was kind of one of those situations that just presented itself and went, and I went, I'm having that. Oh yes. And ended up with this cracking shot. So really liked it. Beautiful place, worth a visit. Yeah, the settings for that were again 17-40 wide angle zoom. It was 17mm. It was a 5-second shot at f18 ISO 50, and it was on tripod manual. That was that shot. Number 3. Okay, number 4. I'm not quite sure how you pronounce this. I think it's Dysirth or Dysirth Waterfall. This is in North Wales as well. This is a place you can go and visit. It's kind of just off the road. It's in a little town, and the thing about it is there's a bridge, a walkway that goes really close to it. It's like in a little gully, this little waterfall is. And you can't step away from it. There's only one place you can really stand to take his photograph if you want to get it all in frame. So I put the wide angle on again, set it in portrait, and there was an immense amount of spray coming off of this waterfall, as you can see in this footage. So what I was doing was I made the composition, I set everything, I got all my settings as I wanted them, and then all I was doing basically then was wiping or covering the lens until the spray had kind of blown the other way, because the wind was whipping around a little bit. So the wind would blow the spray in a different direction, and I'd eventually just quickly wipe the lens of any spray on it, and then take the shot, and then cover the lens again. And then the spray would turn again, the wind would turn, and then it'd be coming straight at the camera. I mean, the camera was getting wet through. It was quite an interesting thing to try and photograph. Like I said, there was only one place you could stand, and people kept coming by me, and it's another one of those places people visit a lot. But I think this shot for me was about perseverance, and I love it. It was just getting the timing as well, so to make the water look like almost like frozen crystal, but still catching a bit of movement in there. It's quite funny with long exposures, because you really can go too long or too short an exposure sometimes, depending how you want the water to look. You know, there's a sweet spot on these things, I think, and it was the thing I was trying to get, so it looked just as I wanted it to look. I think I achieved that. I'm pretty sure I did, actually. I like this shot. It sits well with me, and I kind of like the story. I always have that memory of trying to get the right composition, get the right shot, and get it so there wasn't any spray on my lens. So I achieved it. It was good fun taking this shot. And what number are we on? Number 4. The settings for this were 17-40 again in portrait, 0.8 seconds. It was at 28mm. It was f22. And the ISO was 50, and it was in manual mode on a tripod. And that was Dyserth Falls in North Wales. Good shot, I like it. Okay, number 5. This is a place called Fairy Glen. Again, this is at Petrusicoed in North Wales. Actually, like, if you've never been to Petrusicoed, go and see this place. It's surrounded by alpine forests. A stunning place. They call it the gateway to Snowdonia. It's a lovely town. There's great places to eat, and the surroundings are just fantastic. But there's this place called Fairy Glen, just outside the town. It's dead easy to get to. You pay a little toll to the people whose land it is, and then you can walk down. It's treacherous walk down there. You have to be very careful on your feet. You certainly do. But once you get there, you're presented with this absolutely stunning gully with this water running through it. And I spent some time there, and I took quite a few shots, but I quite liked this shot. I was looking up the river for the longest time, and I've got some beautiful shots looking up the river, like this one here, or these two actually. I'll just show you a couple of shots. These aren't included in the 10. I just thought I'd show you them anyway whilst we're here. But the shot that I've chosen was when I looked back with this rock I stood on. I looked back and saw this scene, and it was all swirling. It was like a pool it was hitting before it went down the next cascade, and I quite liked it, and I took this shot. I like the composition, I like the feel of the place. I find it interesting. Your eye follows the whole image round and has a look at what's there. It just sat well with me, this image. I quite liked it. I love being there. Not much to say about it really, apart from it's stunning. It is absolutely stunning. Great place to go and have a look at. I think I'd like to photograph it a few other times as well at some point. Maybe in the snow. I think it'd be treacherous down there in the snow though. Hey ho, we'll have a go, I'm sure. So this is Fairy Glen. Great shot, really enjoyed taking it, enjoyed being there. 17-40 again, at 17mm, 0.6 seconds, f22, and it was ISO 50, manual on a tripod. Yeah, love this shot, lovely shot. Okay, shot number 6, Lindisfarne Castle. When lockdown eased the first time, we went up to Northumberland and spent some time there, because it's one of my family's favourite places. It's certainly one of my favourite places. You can't fail to take great photos when you're up there. Met some lovely people up there. It's just a super place in the world. But we've been to the Holy Island quite a few times, and we returned on this occasion. And it was kind of the weather was interchangeable. I made a video there whilst I was there. You can have a look. I'll put the link above me. You can go and check that out if you like. But yeah, I just spent some time there. The weather was very on and off. It was bright. But what I ended up doing was I put a 10-stop filter on my camera and got this shot. And I love the moody sky. I like the composition. I mean, the castle's stunning anyway. And I took a load of different shots of the castle from all sorts of different angles. But I quite like this one. I don't know. This just sits well with me. I remember pausing and just standing. I was on a pier taking this shot across the water. And I remember just looking around me and looking at how wonderful this place was. And just having a moment to myself thinking it's great to be out. You know, we'd been locked down, as many of us had. And it was just nice to be out in the world again, and in such a lovely place. I put a 10-stop filter on because it was bright. I wanted to just have a bit of a play around and see what I got with it. I was trying to flatten out the water a little bit. But I ended up with this really moody shot. Did I intend this? I don't know what I was after. I was just playing around with settings really, and when I got this home and had a look at it, I really like this shot. I like the composition. I just like the mood in it. And it sat well with me. Again, all these things, you know, it either does or it doesn't. But this did. I'm quite pleased with it. So, beautiful 16th century castle located on the Holy Island. Yep, up near Berwick upon Tweed. And I like this shot. And the settings for the shot were 17 to 40 again, 40mm. It's a 12-second shot. Like I say, it had a 10-stop filter on. F16 ISO 100 manual on a tripod. That's shot number 6. And number 7. Shot number 7. These are reflections on Digley Reservoir. We went for a walk. And this is one of these shots when I was just stomping along and just taking in the surroundings. We're out on a walk, and I turned round and just saw this and thought, I've got to photograph that. And it was just the reflections. It was a bright sunny day, and it was just the reflections on the water of these shrubs that were growing out of the water. And I just saw it. I just thought, I've got to photograph that. And I took some portrait and landscape shots of it. I took quite a few images, but this is the one that kind of stood out for me. I love the colour involved. Yeah, it just presented itself. And whilst I was there were people walking by me going, oh my God, that's lovely, isn't it? I was like, yeah, of course, I've got to photograph it. That's why I'm here with my tripod set up. Yeah. It's a shot that was begging to be taken. Wasn't really looking for it, just happened upon it, as often happens when you're out in the world. And yeah, ended up with this shot. Absolutely beautiful. I'm going to get it printed and framed, I think, this one. That's how much I like this shot. Yeah, just up on Digley Reservoir up near Holmfirth in West Yorkshire. Beautiful scenery, beautiful location, and really pleased with this shot. I haven't really got much to say about this shot. It just kind of speaks for itself. I think so. Anyway, you might think differently, but I think it's a cracking shot. Settings for the shot. I've got my 70 to 200 zoom. Is at 200mm. Is 1/160th of a second. f4.5. ISO 100, and it was aperture priority on this occasion. There you have it. Okay, number 8. This one's called Beyond the Gates, and this was the same day that I took the reflections on the water. It had clouded over. You've got these beautiful bellowing white clouds that had sort of moved in, and I was just walking along this path and I saw this scene. I loved the fact that there was this gate. I mean, I've edited it, obviously. I knew what I wanted to do with this shot when I saw it up on the hill. I knew I wanted it black and white. I knew I wanted it to be moody. So with that in mind, I made sure that I got the settings right, just right, in order to sort of get kind of the tonal values that I wanted from the image. And took the shot. It was handheld. But what I like about this is the sense of journey. This is the thing about photography. Sometimes you take an image because you want to say something about that isn't there, something that's beyond the actual physical that you're actually taking the photograph of, and that was very much the case on this occasion. The fact that what's beyond the gate, I love that question that it sort of poses. You know, the image is like these bellowing white clouds in the distance. This kind of almost this light breaking through the gap in the gate, presenting a path towards the gate, edited in such a way that sort of punches that a little bit, obviously. But you know, that's what we're here to do, is make an image. And I like this image. I just like the fact that I love seeing something and knowing immediately what you want to do with it. And that was one of these occasions, and it turned out nice. I quite like this image. It's number 8, and number 8 is 70-200 at 188mm, 1/500th of a second, f6.3, ISO 50, aperture priority, and it was handheld. Quite like this shot. Okay, next shot. This is more recently. This is like moving into autumn this year, and I went out with a friend of mine, and we just went looking see what we could get, basically. A mist had dropped on the land. This is locally. This is across the road from me, so literally about I don't know, half a mile walk from my house out into the countryside, a place called Hartshead, and there's these 3 trees. I'm going to call them the 3 Nuns because there's a local pub that's existed for many years called the 3 Nuns, tied actually to the legend of Robin Hood. And Robin Hood's grave is meant to be fairly local to where these trees are. So I've called this image the 3 Nuns because of a local history. But it was misty, and this composition presented itself. It was there, and I just thought that's a great shot. And both me and my mate at the time said the same thing, looked at it and went, yep, I'm having that. And then the mist had dropped on the land, and I just love the way that the mist separates these 3 trees. To look at them as you're swinging around the trees, actually, it doesn't look like there's a shot there, but as soon as you sort of move along the path and look back at it, they all just kind of sort of align and form this uniformity. Only from this one perspective. It's quite an interesting shot, actually, for that reason. I love this shot. I absolutely love this shot. I love the way they just stood there, and I kind of like the various states that the trees are in. Some have shed their leaves, and some haven't. You know, that sort of. I quite like the conversation that this image has about sort of the changing time. You know, autumn, the trees dropping leaves and things decaying and shutting down for the next season, sort of thing. So, yeah. Anyway, I really like this image, and it was nice to get out there. And to me, it's nice that it's local. I've been taking, obviously, due to restrictions, I've been taking lots more things locally of late. Yeah, but I like this image. And again, number 10, last but not least. Now, the centre tree from the previous image, the 3 Nuns image. This is the middle tree, but this is further up the hill on the land, looking back down the hill through a gap in the hedge. And this was I think it was about 4 weeks after that other image was taken, when the leaves are all off the trees now. We're fully, into winter mode. And the mists were back on the land again. And the mist was swirling around quite a lot. This image was changing literally second to second. Sometimes the trees up in the distance would disappear into a thick white fog, and then they'd just appear again. So it was just about waiting around, setting up the camera, setting up the settings, and just waiting till the image you wanted to take presented itself. And that's basically what I did. What I like about this image is sort of the layers, the levels. How I remember seeing it at the time, going, there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 or 7 like slithers, different layers to this image, and I quite like that. It makes it interesting, and the fact that there's a central focal point of this tree in the centre as well. I mean, you can't see. I was saying earlier that there's the 3 trees, those 3 nuns that I was talking about. You had to move around to line them up, interestingly, in this shot, you can see that they're quite a long way away from each other, because those other two trees either side, you know, aren't there in this. They're quite far apart from each other. So it just shows you how perspective and standing in the right place to get a shot can make a difference. So anyway, yeah, this is up the hill. This is a bit later on. Love this shot. Absolutely love it. Just love the aesthetic quality. It was great to get super time, local shooting as well, which is always good. And the last shot is 70-200. It's 188mm, 1 second shot, f10, ISO 50. It was manual on a tripod. There you have it. 10 shots that I like, you know. Not necessarily my favourite shots, you know, or best shots even, should I say, but just shots that sit well with me. And going through the shots that I've taken this year, these are the ones that kind of stood out, and I just wanted a bit of a conversation about them. Thanks for dropping by. Thanks for listening to me ramble on about my images. So you're always welcome. It's always nice to have you on board. If you've subscribed and you're a follower, I really appreciate it. Thank you very much indeed. If you haven't subscribed, please get on board. It'd be great to have you on board. Hit like if you like this video. Certainly do that. And after this bizarre and horrible year we've been having, I sincerely wish you all a cracking 2021. Let's hope that it turns out to be a belter and a lot different from the one we've just had. I know we're not out of the woods yet. I know it's a very strange time. I really hope that you and yours are well, happy, and getting on with things as best as possible. And long may that continue. Brilliant to see you. Thank you for listening. Have a great New Year celebration as best you can. I'll see you on the other side. Take care and bye for now.